Hi there, Crafty Pals, Louise with you today. Thanks so much for checking out this 12x12 scrapbook layout video. It's a 3 old, 3 new stash busting part of my series. So I've got some new products from Paper Rose Studio, the Grow With Love paper collection and ephemera. And then I've got a paste, a stencil, and a piece of old coloured cardstock. Now, I must admit, I am a shocker for not using coloured cardstock. I just automatically reach for white every single time. It's really hard. It's such a challenge for me. And one thing that I'm also having trouble with lately is not taking enough photos. So I don't know if anybody else is feeling this way. Life's getting so busy, and you know, at the moment I'm running a business, hubby's running a business, I'm back at uni. You know, I basically don't sleep, and that's how I have time to get any scrapbooking done at all before you go ahead and ask in the comments. But essentially, you know, I just find that where life is so busy, I'm not actually photographing the everyday moments. And this was one of those, you know, just life moments where hubby was working out in the shed, and he stopped for a bit of a break in his sort of work. And then I happened to be out there asking him something, and my pup Zara, she jumped up and she wanted to say hello. And I thought it was a really cute little moment just to snap an everyday photo. So it's not a pretty photo, and that's, I think, where I get stuck a little bit, is that, you know, it's not a super important life memory. It's not a beautiful picture out in the life of our world, but it's an everyday memory, and I think it's really important to keep those. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to sort of, you know, lift it up a little bit today. So you can see, firstly, I've built my cluster. And then I'm going to run sort of a center strip of these hearts. I thought the hearts were kind of appropriate, being that, you know, I want to heart this memory. I want to keep it sort of fresh in mind and just remember those times where, even though life is really busy, we can stop and just have a little bit of love from our animals. So the hearts were appropriate, and I'm going to run that strip down the center from top to bottom, and I'm going to team this with the double stencil. So I'm going to use the stencil two ways. So firstly, you can see I've inked through it, and then I'm going to use my paste through that same stencil, but I'm going to move the stencil so that the paste in the smaller heart sits over the top of the larger heart. So you get this kind of double effect where you're actually, getting the benefit of using your stencil twice, but you get this kind of layered effect where you've got color underneath and then slightly different color and texture above that as well. So this, I think, is a really fun technique. I would encourage you to have a go at it. My biggest problem at the moment is that all of my pastes are going hard in their containers, and so this one I've managed to salvage, but after this particular layout, unfortunately it had to go in the bin. It got quite hard. It was really tricky to spread the paste, and it was not enjoyable to use. It was difficult to create the layout as opposed to easy. I'm all about easy scrapping. You know, I've talked just in this video about how busy my life is. So I don't need hard scrapping. I don't need texture paste that's really hard to move around. I would much rather just bin it and get a fresh one than actually have the fight that is using this texture paste. But I am trying to salvage as much of this as I can, because I do hate waste at the same time. So I'm also going to do this fun texture paste border where just using a spatula, and obviously this is much easier when your paste spreads a little bit better than mine. Mine's quite stiff and too sticky that it's stuck to the spatula instead of sticking to the paper. But yeah, you get this kind of messy, grungy kind of border just by having paste on your spatula and just letting it kind of attach to the page in whatever form it sort of wants to take. So Normally it's a fun technique. I'm not enjoying myself right now because my paste is, like I say, it's ready for the bin. And then I'm getting it stuck on my photo and I've got paste on my stencil and the whole thing's just a massive big mess, really. But I managed to go ahead and I cleaned up my mess. I've also just freehand drawn some nuvo hearts over some of those other hearts. So it really is a bit of a heart feature with this particular page, and just making them the focus. But you can see that border, despite the fact that it was quite a tricky process for me to actually get it done, it is quite effective, and I'm using the Colour Blast pastes. So if you're looking for them now, they're known as Be Arty online. So yeah, if you're going to try and find some paste, they're called Be Arty, and you can pick up some of those really fun shimmery kind of pastes, which when they're not hard like mine are actually quite enjoyable to use. So definitely have a look at them and see what you think. All right, so the final stage is here. I really just needed a title or some words. So I go to my little sort of nearby collection of ephemera or things that I've bought recently that I want to actually get used up on layouts, and I pull out just a couple of little words, the thankful and something about memories of life well lived. There you go. And that's going to form my title for the page. All right, finally, just adding a date, and that one is done. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. As always, happy scrapping.